Okay, I want to give a big thanks to Always, Whisper, and P&G for being the presenting sponsor. As a girl leader and athlete, I know firsthand the importance of promoting equality in sports. For over 35 years, Always has been empowering millions of girls globally through puberty and confidence education and the provision of products to girls in need. Research commissioned by Always indicates that more than half the girls experience a sharp drop in confidence during puberty. Millions of them drop out of sports due to this because society doesn't see the long term value in their participation. Therefore, they don't encourage them to keep playing. The reality is, sports can help girls develop confidence, leadership skills on and off the court for them to take action on issues they're passionate about. Always has teamed up with several professional athletes, including Jess McDonald, who is on the US women's national soccer team and an equal pay advocate. Other trailblazing women, including STEM education activist and founder of Girls Computing League, Kavya Kopparapu, to rally society to hashtag keep her playing. I'm lucky enough to have both Jess and Kavya with me here today to discuss the long-term benefits of playing sports during puberty and the importance of encouraging girls to stay in the sports that keep them confident. Starting off with Jess, I read a story about your family's influence in getting you involved with sports. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what you learned in your early years of being an athlete, and also why you're excited to partner with Always to keep girls playing?
So my grandmother, my mom's mom, she had 9 children and they all played sports. She was all about sports. Even when she was a little girl, she played softball, I believe, and she was also a band geek and just all around just multi-talented. And she grew up just having a competitive edge right off the bat. And so she obviously instilled that in my mother and my aunts and uncles as well. And obviously they passed down the genes to me and my cousins, all of their children. And so I grew up the only girl in my family to top it off for a really long time. And so I grew up at a time where we didn't rely so much on technology. It just didn't exist when I was a little girl. And so me and the boys, we always were outside being active. So I grew up total tomboy. I wanted to be one of the boys. I wasn't allowed to act like a girl, I wasn't allowed to bring any tears, I wasn't allowed to cry. And so I guess that's kind of where my toughness and competitiveness came from and just kind of grew up that underdog. That's why I like to always call myself throughout my lifetime. And the reason for it is because I grew up the only girl. And so I just felt as if I was always the underdog. Boys always picked me last, but always proved myself in whatever sports or activities that we played outside. So I just grew up active. And so obviously I was able to carry over my childhood into my adulthood as well.
Awesome. I also grew up playing a ton of sports, and I grew up always like wanting to compete with all the like boys in my class because they're always most competitive and like wanting to prove them wrong.
Oh
So I
yeah.
totally get where you're coming from.
Oh yeah.
And then Kavya, which sports did you grow up playing? And then while playing those sports, what did they teach you and how did they help you to start what you're doing now with the Girls Computing League?
Yeah, so growing up, I think similarly to Jess, like my family had a really big emphasis on sports as well. My brother is a year and a half younger than me, and so we did a lot of things together, including like try basically every sport under the sun. And we both ended up really loving lacrosse, and so that's what I played from, I think like second grade till high school. And so I just really love playing sports for like so many different reasons. I think first and foremost is just the team spirit and sense of community. I think it was just in such an incredible way to meet other talented, like super passionate, like girls in my community, and have so many peer role models in my coaches and in like some of the older girls who I would see playing on the field. Um, and I think for me, sports was always like really difficult, and it really made me push myself and persevere and learn that not everything comes easy, and that if you really want something, you have to work at it. And so I think that sense of community and working really hard at something were two of the really key things that led me to like the career path that I'm on and the work that I do. So I I basically played lacrosse until I was a junior in high school. Um, and my freshman year, I actually like had a sports injury, tore my ACL. And it was during that time after my surgery, like while I was in bed rest, that I really thought critically about like the issues that I saw like on the field and off the field in my more academic life. And I ended up becoming very passionate about accessibility for STEM education, specifically for computer science, because that's what I was really developing a passion for at that time. And now I'm a computer science major, so go figure. And that's how I started my nonprofit organization, Girls Computing League. And I named it a league because I wanted to emulate the sense of community and sense of camaraderie I had when I was playing sports. And so now I really like work in my nonprofit organization to form these sort of like sub teams and have girls collaborate and work with each other. I think a lot of the same things that I'm trying to emulate from my experiences playing sports. So even though it's not like a direct part of like what I'm doing right now, I think a lot of the skills, the sense of community, the sense of perseverance, and the sense of having other parts in your life that really give you strength and power to move forward are some of the reasons that I think like playing a sport when I was younger was really helpful.
I totally agree with you. And what you said about how it's not always easy, but pushing through is what teaches you more about than what winning necessarily does. And then also, recent research from Always supports what you were saying before. It indicates that over 2 and 3 agree that playing sports has a positive impact on academic performance and future career success. However, despite these benefits, nearly 1 in 3 girls drop out of sports during puberty in the UK, and then in the US, it's 1 in 2 girls that drop out during puberty. So, what do you think as a society that are they doing enough to encourage girls to keep playing sports? And then where can we improve on this?
I think with the discussions that we're having even now, with Girl Up, which is absolutely amazing. For me growing up, I didn't have much of this. I didn't have access to someone, truly helping me through sport, especially going through puberty, because like as you guys know how hard that is mentally and physically when your body's going through these changes. And so with that being said, I think the discussion needs to be much bigger because little girls, even like myself, when I was a little girl and I didn't have much help or, much of a female influence to help me with these things, it was really tough for me. And, going through puberty, you're in like that embarrassed stage. You're like in that awkward stage. You don't know how to handle it. And like I wore white jerseys, it's like wearing white jerseys and shorts. That was like the toughest thing. Even still to this day, I'm 33 years old and I still get very nervous. And so, with that being said, I think the discussion needs to obviously continue. I'm like super excited for obviously what we're doing here and obviously helping each other and hoping that little girls are encouraged by this conversation because sport is really important just to be in a team environment. You learn about determination and it's really healthy for you. It's healthy for your body. So even exercise while going through puberty is actually very good for you. And so little things like that, I think girls can be, we can inform little girls globally a little bit more than what we're doing because we can all use a little bit of help as little girls, especially within that regard when your body's changing, you don't really know, much about it and you feel a little weird, a little awkward. And, I've been there, done that. And so with that being said, it's just amazing how, we're part of this movement right now. And so hopefully that this, escalates into something bigger because we can all be educated on it.
I agree. And then also having the teammates there who are going through the same thing really helped me
Exactly.
because you feel like you're not alone through it. You have other people who understand what you're going through. Kavya, do you have anything you want to say on that question? Or I can move on to the next one too.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo a lot of the things that Jess said. I like very much identify with those experiences. But I think also, I think the conversation isn't opened enough about like what those benefits I just mentioned are for young girls, and it's not exposed. I feel like to girls who are interested in joining sports and girls who are interested in continuing to play sports. And so I think there should be this notion that even if you're not going to make your like whatever you play doesn't have to be a career, and it could be, and if that's something that you really care about, but if you're interested in other things as well, then a lot of those skills that you learn through playing sports still have a role in your life and in your overall health and like mental well-being as you grow up. um, And I think also like one thing that I'm really cognizant about when I'm working like with computer science education that I see a huge parallel towards keeping girls in sports is like financial barriers to entry, and also being cognizant that like there are incredible young women in our communities who may be really interested in sports but have barriers such as like carpool or buying equipment, and I think like being more aware of like those needs in our community could help us to identifying and supporting young women who could really benefit from that. So yeah, I think generally I'm just really excited to like continue this conversation and to be partnering with Always on like on the Keep Her Playing campaign.
That's awesome. That was very well said. Jess, on top of partnering with Always, you're also part of a new documentary, which I just saw when I was on HBO the other day. And it's working, or it talks about the US women's national team fight for equal pay. How have your skills on the field enabled you to take on this fight with your teammates?
I truly believe hard work, obviously, determination, resiliency. If I look back on my career, I've given birth, I've had a major knee injury, and so I'm able to pass down the adversity that I've gone through throughout my life and apply it into outside of my career, not in my life, but on the soccer field, but outside the soccer field, I'm able to speak up about adversity, especially to my little boy as well. And so, for example, he broke his arm like 2 years ago. He fell out of a tree. He's outdoorsy kid, and so after he had his cast on, he's like, I'm never gonna climb that tree again. I'm like, no, absolutely not. You see the scar on my knee? You know how I did this? He said, soccer. Yes, that's right. And what do I still do? He said, play soccer. That is correct. And so we have to teach these little kids, little girls around the world that, we go through crap. And sometimes, especially puberty can really suck. And so we have to speak up and be comfortable to say that. And knowing that we all can get through this. We've all gone through it. There are millions of women who have gone through it. And so why can't you? We go through adversity. It's how we come out of that is what's going to obviously truly define our character, truly define our grit. And so on the soccer field is what is something that is truly, defined me outside of the soccer field as well. Not just a player, but I'm also a mom and I'm also an advocate. And so things that I go through on the soccer field, I'm able to mentally challenge myself on the field. I make a lot of mistakes on the field. Okay, how can I fix these mistakes within minutes while I'm in the middle of the game? And same thing outside of that, outside the soccer field. And so this is where, a lot of incredible relationships develop. And so, and when you develop these relationships, you can obviously speak about these things. And that's where comfortability comes from. And so I just want my story to, kind of resonate with our youth because they know I've gone through puberty as well. And so teaming up with Always was a no-brainer for me. And I love the advocacy, what they're about. And so definitely no hesitation there. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think the more people keep raising their voices and sharing their stories, the more people will be willing to either stick with their sports or share their story as well. And then my next question for both of you is, what would you say to a girl who's thinking about quitting sports?
I would definitely encourage her because like I said, I wanted to use, I love using my own personal story to obviously encourage others. It's all about breaking barriers throughout your lifetime and know that if there's something that you want to do, knowing other things, i.e., sports, is going to help, develop your character. Stick with it. You're in a team environment, you make friends, it's exercise. If you don't like that sport, move on to another sport. But it's always good to surround yourself with other people who have the same goal as you. Okay, I'm on a track and field team and I want to win a national championship. Okay, I have other teammates who want to do the same thing as me. Let's go. That's an incredible feeling. It's just being on board with others and learning how to work in a team environment. That's also good. And it also helps you build resiliency. It helps you build determination. And it starts your path, your life's path, with some type of determination, some type of hard work as well. And so I truly believe that sport helps define your character, especially in the future, because you go through wins and you go through losses and you learn a lot from that.
I totally agree with you. I think athletes make some of the best leaders because you learn how to win and lose and overcome obstacles at such a young age. And the puberty is a really critical point in that.
I'll add on really quickly to what Jess said. I definitely agree with all of the points that she brought up. I think the last thing that I would add is that I like in my own process of like joining sports, quitting sports, like playing different sports, joining different teams in different environments. I've always been very cognizant of like where my motivation is coming from, whether that's coming from myself or some sort of external pressures like from the outside. And I think being cognizant of what you want and being really goal oriented and understanding like what your motivations are is something I definitely learned from sports, and it's given me so much clarity in understanding like what I want to do in the future, what is the impact I want to have in the world, and then like what do I want to do with my life as I grow up. Um, and I think like something that's so uniquely enabled by having the experience of being in a team and being in like a sport and having a goal every time you get onto the field and also off the field. So I would just say like to any little girl who's thinking of quitting that there's so much benefit of like personal development and personal growth that you get from playing a sport. And all of these lessons just accumulate and like Jeff said, like make you into who you are as you grow up.
Thank you guys. I really enjoyed getting to speak with both of you. It's very impressive to see how your sports have shaped you, not just on the field, but also off of it, and all the important things you've done while off the field. I'm inspired to hear about the actions you're taking with your partnership, with always to keep girls playing and confident in anything they want to be. I'd like to encourage all the Girl Up members to come up with ways that you can help girls in your community stay in sports. You can check out the Girl Up Sports with for Purpose programming ideas on their website to help you get started. And if you need more inspiration or want to learn more, you can visit always.com or follow them on Instagram at always_brand.